Tuesday. Welcome back to the Sippin' on Stories podcast. I'm Mandy Corey, your host, and I'm so delighted that you're here. I hope you can excuse my voice. I got hit with a cold, so I hope your 4th of July was better than mine because I was sick. It could have been worse. I just was a little bit tired and groggy. My kids had just gotten over their cold, and I got hit with it, so unfortunately, we didn't make it to the parade. It was raining, so I wasn't planning on going anyway because of how I was feeling, but it was really rainy. I know people went and got wet, and I'm just glad I wasn't there because it probably would have made me feel even a little bit worse. Anyway, so my voice probably sounds a little bit sickly, but that's okay. At least I still have my voice so that I can be on this episode today. Okay, so yeah, I hope you had a wonderful 4th and that you got to see a lot of fireworks and eat hot dogs and watermelon and see family and friends and go to parades and all the fun things. 4th of July, I think I said this last week, but it really is one of my all-time favorite holidays, and I'm already looking forward to it again next year. Okay, so for today's episode, I just want to say thank you to the people that are listening to this podcast that are sharing it with people they know or reaching out to people that they know who have a good story that they can tell and getting them to come on the podcast with me, because that is what today's episode was. It was what I call a referral. I'm not sure. Someone reaching out to somebody else and bringing them to me, and I'm so grateful for that. So if you are doing that, thank you. I had a tip from somebody that I should go on my Instagram and to make a post where you can tag the people in your lives that have a story that may not come to me themselves, but they just need a little bit of encouragement. So I do plan to put one of those on my Instagram page. Hopefully I'll get it out this week, depending on how I'm feeling. That is my plan, so that you can bring more people to me like our interview for today. So on that note, we call her Mallory in this episode. She is anonymous because she tells us a story of a time that she was stalked. So just, oh, can you hear the fireworks going on in the back? I should be outside watching them, but anyway, so she tells us that story. It's very interesting. So here you go. My goodness, can you hear that? I told my husband the other day, fireworks can just lull me right to bed. I love the sound. Anyway, here's your story. Do you have a name that you would like to use?
How about Mallory?
Mallory.
Mallory? Yeah.
Okay, sounds good.
That was always going to be my girl name if I ever figured out how to make a girl, but we don't know how.
So boys.
So we never used it.
Yeah. It's very cute.
Cute.
Okay, Mallory. So what is your favorite drink that you like to have?
So, well, I don't drink alcohol because that's a bad idea in my family. Addiction runs really strong.
Mm-hmm.
But also I'm LDS or Mormon, as some would say. So anyway, I'm a white monster kind of a girl. I love those things. I probably drink one every day. Every once in a while, I'll try to drink Crystal Light or something instead because I add up how much it costs me in energy drinks every year. And I'm
expensive.
like, oh. I've always drank a lot of caffeine, and my people in my circle would sometimes give me a hard time about how much caffeine I drink. But then I got diagnosed with lupus. And so now all of my people are really defensive of my caffeine intake. My grandpa was giving me a really hard time once because I was drinking a White Monster in front of him. And he's like, you don't need to be drinking that. My mom's like, she needs it. Okay, you stop.
Well, that kind of worked out, I guess. Maybe
yeah,
not
so anyway.
Does caffeine help with lupus?
My biggest symptom with it that bothers me the most is the fatigue.
Mm-hmm.
So it does help with that.
Yeah,
So
my sister-in-law
anyway.
has lupus, and so I know there's like a huge array of things that she experiences, but
Yeah. Yeah. Lucky for me, it's mostly just like joint pain and fatigue.
mm-hmm.
And I'm like pretty tolerant of pain, so the joint pain doesn't bother me much, but I'm really impatient with the fatigue. I'm like, oh, I got stuff to do. Like, I can't be this tired
Yeah,
all
gotta
the
have the
time.
caffeine. I had a sip of my husband's white monster like last weekend, and I don't drink monsters, but I'm like, it is good.
It's good.
It
It's
is.
tasty. Yeah.
Yeah,
No, no, even when I'm like not really that tired, I'm like, oh, but it's so good.
I know. That's how I am. I like my Diet Dr. Pepper, and that's how I am. I'm like, sometimes I don't need it. I just want it because it tastes good.
Yeah,
So,
it tastes so good. And they have like that creamy coconut one now.
oh yeah,
It's
that's
so
that's the
good.
one I've been drinking. Yeah, it's my
Yeah,
favorite.
it's yummy.
hmm Okay, well, thank you for coming on. I'm really excited. I don't want to say excited because that means that you had something bad happen to you, but I'm excited to hear the story. So I'm just going to let you start from the beginning and just go from there.
So I guess I can start a little further back because I feel like when I've told this story before, it's mostly been to people who know me and know my
hmm
husband. So there's not a lot of background necessary, you know? But so my husband and I, we went to BYU, Idaho. We met there. Like a mutual friend set us up and we got married and we got pregnant pretty quickly on the pill. I was like, cool.
Really? Oh,
Wasn't planning on
wonderful.
that. So we were like, oh, we're gonna need like a bigger place because we just lived in like, this tiny one bedroom apartment. We didn't have a lot of needs with just the two of us. I was working, I'm a nurse and I was working, I just graduated, so I was working two jobs because I didn't have, other things to do. I guess I was still working on my bachelor's, but it was like not the same as the regular nursing program. It was a lot of stuff I could do online and stuff.
hmm
So I was working a lot. He was in school and working a lot. So we didn't really need like a ton of space. So we just had this little apartment. So we got in contact. I can't remember now who it was that told us about it, but they were like, there's this like little trailer park that's right behind our apartment complex, and it's really great. The rent is super cheap. Um, anyway, here's this guy's number. He's the one that owns all the trailers, and you could call him and see if he has any openings. And I was like, great, that sounds awesome. We had been looking at a two-bedroom apartment that was like $550 a month, which now you're like
You can't
just
find
about
that
die
anywhere.
hearing
Yeah.
that. You'd never
hmm
find that. This was, oh god, like 12 years ago.
hmm
Maybe. Um, so anyway, we got in touch with this guy, and he was like, "Yeah, I actually have a brand new one coming, um, and so we can get you set up with this one, and it's $500 a month." And I was like, "Good heavens! Like that's way better than this other two-bedroom apartment we were looking at." So,
hmm
um, so we waited for that trailer to come in, and it came in. It wasn't hooked up to anything yet, but we went to go and look at it. And I was like, this is great. It's super pretty. It's just this little single wide two-bedroom trailer. But the idea of going from a one-bedroom apartment to like not sharing walls and having our own little patch of grass
Yeah, that sounded great, I'm sure.
sounded great
Yeah.
to a bunch of college students, newlyweds with a baby coming. Um, but I looked at the kitchen and I was like, this is not a lot of cabinets. Like there's a lot of places to put stuff in here. So I got on like the school bulletin board
hmm
thing where people are like selling stuff. They give rides to each other, that sort of thing. And I noticed somebody on there was selling like this little standalone cabinet. And it was like a decent size and would fit perfect in this little spot against the wall in our little kitchen in that trailer. And so I was like, sweet. So I reached out to this guy. We're gonna call him Mark. Call him
Okay.
Mark. So I reached out to this guy via, I don't remember if it was like text or if it was like if there was some messenger within the like bulletin board. I can't remember. I
hmm
think there was like a messenger thing in the bulletin board. So I reached out to him and I was like, hey, this cabinet's perfect for what we need. We're moving into this trailer. There's not a lot of cabinet space, so I'd love to buy this from you. He was selling it for like $50. I was like, that's a great deal.
Yeah.
So I reached out to him and he was like, yeah, it's still available. You know, you can come and get it. So I was like, okay, great. Where are you at? Where do you live? And he told me, and it was in that same trailer park.
That's perfect.
Like just across and a couple down. So I was like, this is great. We don't live in this trailer yet, but we have access to it, so we can just like move it over a couple of trailers down. How convenient is that? So I take my husband with me and we go over there, and the guy was like kind of awkward, just like just kind of this awkward guy. He seemed nice though.
Was
He
he
and
older
Caleb,
or was he like same age?
he's probably about the same age.
Okay.
Um, and I don't think his wife was there at the time, but he talked about her. But anyway, Caleb and like my husband and he were just kind of making small talk. He helped us move it over, and they talked about he talked about how great the church group was in that area and how everybody's in the trailer park is like they're like one big family. Like there's lots of little community things that go on and that we'll probably really like living there. And I'm like, hey, great. It's awesome. But I didn't really talk to him much. It was mostly him and my husband making. So, but yeah, we weren't living in the trailer yet. So we just kind of stood there in this empty trailer and talked for a bit. And then we were like, okay, see ya. I think we moved in a couple weeks after that, maybe. And I don't recall ever really talking to him again after that. Like maybe my husband did. I can't remember. We certainly never like got together or anything. The way that our church works, there's like groups. You kind of go to church by the area that you live in. And up here where BYU Idaho is, there's like, they call them wards. And there's like student wards with like college students, and then there's family wards. And I think they were going to like the family ward, and my husband and I kept going to the student ward because we really liked it, and we were both still in school, so we kept going there. So we didn't really see them after that. So we had that baby and loved that little trailer. It was super great. And then at about when he was like 18 months old or so, he just wanted to be outside all the time.
As they do.
And yeah, so he wanted to be on our little grassy area, and he just loved being outside and wanted to be out there all the time. But it's like we had like our trailer, and then we had this little grassy patch, and then it's like a road right there. Like and so I was like, oh, it's just not safe, and he's so mobile. And so I called my dad and I was like, hey, how do you think I can build like a little fence across our grassy area so that he won't get out? And my dad was like, just stop. Like, don't put money into this rental of yours. Like, this is not your place. You don't need to be putting money into there. Like, why don't you guys need to probably start looking at buying a house. And, I'm like 20, how old was I? I don't know, 23, 24. And I was like, well, I don't know. How do you do that?
We never learned how to buy houses.
Where do you start? Nobody teaches you that in school. We are too busy learning trigonometry, So anyway, we found this house. It's actually not very far from where we lived before. And it's great. So we bought it. We were moving in, and my husband at the time was working with our friend that connected us. They used to work together. And so they worked together when all of this kind of went down. So we had just moved into this house, and my husband gets a phone call that was kind of just odd. Like the guy on the other end was like, hey, are you Mallory's husband? And he's like, yeah. Why? They called him on his work phone, which he thought was really odd. And this guy was like, yeah, I've been trying to reach her. I can't find her contact information anywhere. And he introduced himself as Detective Feeney from Illinois. And I was
What's
like,
his name
oh,
really, Detective Feeney?
that's his name. Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, so I was kind of like, when my husband came home and told me about it, I was like, well, a detective couldn't find my number. Like, I'm pretty proud of that.
Yeah.
So anyway, he calls my husband and he's like, hey, how did he word it? He was like, I've got this guy. He was like, do you by chance know this park guy? And my husband's like, I mean, kind of, like, not really, but like I know him, but what am I, like his one phone call or what? What? Like, what's the deal? And the detective said, well, he was arrested recently because he had been found in his coworker's basement waiting for her to come home.
That's scary.
Yeah.
Did you know
scary.
Did you know this person?
No, the girl.
Okay. Yeah.
No. So this actually all went down over in Illinois.
Oh, okay. That makes sense why the detective was from Illinois. Yeah.
Yeah. So this all went down, like they had moved, and anyway, so yeah, he was like, yeah, he had been found. I guess she went home and he left work before her, is my understanding, and was waiting, like knew she was coming home.
Yeah.
And was in her basement, and luckily she like saw something through the window of her basement before she went into her house. And so she ran over to the neighbors and called 911.
That would be so scary.
So scary. Yeah, I was like, whoa, that's a big deal. So anyway, so he told Caleb that, and he said, we believe that he has been stalking people before, and one of them was your wife. I guess they had executed a search warrant on his car and found bags with like underwear, hair.
Oh my gosh.
Some of them had like feminine hygiene products in them. Not mine, I was pregnant.
But like used? Or
yeah, that was
oh
my
my
understanding.
gosh.
Yeah. I could like I think that's what he told me, yeah. So anyway, they were all like labeled. And one of them had my name on it. So he called and he was like, yeah, we've been trying to get in touch with your wife so that she can identify the stuff. And I was like, yeah. So I think my husband was like, whoa, this is super crazy. But I don't think, like, when he came home and told me about it, I was like pretty upset. Like, oh my gosh, like a little bit shook and a little bit emotional. And I think that kind of surprised him. Like, he was like, whoa, I didn't expect this to affect you so much. And I was like, well, yeah. He like broke into our house.
Yeah. Like, how would that not affect me?
Yeah. I just think maybe he didn't like really grasp.
Yeah. Like, what is going on?
Yeah. Like, I think he was still just kind of like, this is so weird. So anyway, he came home and told me about it, and he was like, here's this detective's number, and he wants you to call him. And so I called him and I talked to him, and he was like, yeah, we want you to go and talk to some detectives here in Idaho because we want to make sure that, like, we want to get this guy for as much as we can as this goes to court and everything. I was like, yeah, absolutely. So he emailed me the pictures, and I was like, and sure enough, it was like my stuff.
Like your underwear and stuff like that? Oh,
yeah. And it was funny because, like, I remember, like, back when we lived in that trailer, I was like, we'd go to, like, grab underwear to work out in and stuff. And, like, I remember thinking, like, where is all this underwear that I thought I had? Like, I
Yeah.
can't find anything to wear when I go work out. So weird. Where did it go? I don't
The washing
know.
machine ate it. Or
Yeah,
the dryer
like,
ate
I
it.
don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah, I was just, things get lost. So I was like, but, but it was like I was missing enough of it that it was noticeable. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
can't I find any?
Yeah, you wouldn't think someone was
And,
stealing it.
yeah,
Yeah.
and looking back, like, oh my gosh, like Rexburg it's super safe. It's a really safe place to live in general. And obviously stuff still happens, but it's very safe.
Yeah.
And so I'm never very good at locking my house before I leave, or I wasn't at the time. Partly, I think, because we didn't really own anything worth stealing.
Yeah. You were wrong.
And so when I left, I wasn't very good at locking it. But funny enough, I was good about locking it when I was home. My dad just retired from law enforcement. And so I know when he heard about this, he like wanted to break this guy's
Oh, yeah.
kneecaps,
No kidding.
And so, but they actually lived near Chicago at the time. So kind of back a little closer to where this all happened. But
Yeah.
anyway, so with his background and stuff, I was like, is it completely naive to things that can happen, but I didn't figure anyone would steal my stuff, or that I cared if they did. So I just didn't lock up very much when I was away. But yeah, I worked nights. So when I would be home sleeping, everything was always locked up
Mm-hmm.
because I was always a little bit paranoid for myself, not so much for my stuff.
Yeah, of course.
But there was one time, looking back, that I came home to that trailer after being out, like running errands or something. And I came home and the back door was wide open. Like a lot of these trailers, they'll have like the one door that has like steps leading up to it, and then there was this back door that doesn't have anything. It just drops off. There wasn't any like porch or anything behind it. So we always kept it dead bolted because we didn't use it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I came home and I opened the front door, and that back door is just like wide open. Weird. Like that door's always locked. What the heck?
Did it creep you out, or were you just kind of like...
It did, yeah.
Uh-huh.
It did creep me out.
Yeah.
But I was like, what am I supposed to do at this point? Like,
Mm-hmm.
call the cops and be like, my
The
door
door's
was open.
Yeah.
Like, like I looked around and I didn't see anything of value missing or anything. I'm like, we had like a TV and some computers and like a gaming console, and that was pretty much the extent of anything valuable that we had at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I looked around and I was like, well, what am I supposed to do? Call and be like, hey, my door was left open. Nothing's missing.
And they're like, okay, thanks.
Okay.
You're crazy, but okay.
Yeah, so I was creeped out for a little while, locked it back up, but I didn't really know what else to think about it. So
Was there anything else, like, so we know there was underwear in there. Was there anything else in your bag specifically besides that he had of yours?
remember, I should have pulled up like the email. I think there was some hair maybe, and then there was it was just like pretty much just hair and underwear.
Mm-hmm.
So when after I got off the phone with that detective, I went on this guy's Facebook page. So like we weren't friends on Facebook anyway, and my Facebook is pretty locked down. But just in case, I was like, I'm just gonna go and block him,
Yeah.
just in case. And I went to block him, and I noticed that we had a mutual friend, and she I don't know. I just got like a weird feeling about it. And so I messaged her, and I was like, "Hey, how do you know this guy?" And they have a couple of girls, her and her husband, like little, they had like some little girls at the time and lived in this house. Anyway, so I was like, "How do you know this guy?" And she was like, "Oh, him and his wife used to rent our basement. They used to like live in our basement." And I was like,
Oh no. Now that you know this, it's like, uh-oh.
"It's really interesting."
Yeah.
So before I said much more, I was like, I called that detective back and I was like, "Hey, are you by chance looking for any girls by this name?" And he was like, "Yeah, actually, I am. There was one with labeled with this name." And I was like, "Oh man." So I messaged her back and I was like, "Hey, um, this is the situation. I I've been on the phone in touch with this detective and they found all this stuff in this guy's car and he was arrested because he was in this girl's basement and who knows why, who knows what was going to happen. So he's in jail and I think that you might be a victim in this. So if you're okay with it, I'm going to pass your information along to this detective." And she did not believe me. She was like, "No,
That's the
they
bad.
are so nice. Like there is no way. There's no way." And I'm like, I'm telling you there is a way."
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, sure enough, I got in contact with this detective and she was like, "Can't believe it. It's so crazy." So her husband is actually or was a police officer at the time.
Really.
Mm-hmm. Know if he was yet
Mm-hmm.
when all this went down. But if he wasn't yet, he was shortly after. Um, but anyway, so that was kind of crazy. But she just did not believe me. So anyway, he ended up getting arrested, and I think he got charged with like burglary and stalking, and he was in jail for like 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did you have to do anything like for that trial, or was it just the detective reaching out to you?
No, not for the trial, no. I think he called me and told me about the trial and was like, "Hey, just kind of be ready in case we need you." But I think they had everything that they needed from me,
Mm-hmm.
just from my emails and my statements and stuff. I did go and talk to a detective here in Rexburg, um, so that they could build their case if they ever wanted to do anything. But I think in working with the police department in Illinois, they kind of were able to bunch it all together. So they didn't
Yeah.
do anything here in Rexburg about it. But yeah, I know he was married, so his wife was obviously pretty devastated,
Mm-hmm.
totally blindsided. She had no idea.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and so I was like, obviously, really creeped out by that. I was like, "Oh, that's really crazy." He was like in my house. It was funny. They did this like news story about it here in Rexburg, and the story was really interesting. Like I think they were kind of grasping at straws to like fill the time with the
Mm-hmm.
story. And so they just start interviewing, they just start telling they're like interviewing this girl at BYU Idaho and they're like, "This is the story, what do you think?" And she gave her thoughts and they kind of used that in their story, but she was like, "I mean, I guess I'm just gonna try to be more careful when I do laundry, like switch it over really quick and like go and get it, like not leave it at the laundromat for too long." And I'm like, "Girl, he broke into my
Yeah. Like this
house."
is not a
Like, that
laundromat
is
situation.
not the same thing at all. And like, article was like, "Yeah, there were victims in Rexburg, but none of them live here anymore." And I'm like, "Man, you guys really like didn't do any research at
No.
all. Like, this story could have been way better because two
Yeah.
of us still live here."
Did you talk to the other girl very much after that? And like,
Did, yeah.
yeah.
In fact, we were pretty good friends. I used to babysit for girls sometimes because they owned a bakery and they had really early morning stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I used to babysit her girls. But yeah, we were we were friends for a while. I think they moved out east when we kind of lost touch, but I did talk to her. So like, so anyway, like yeah, all of this time went by. I should have looked back and gotten a date on this because I can't remember how long ago it's been, but he was in jail for years, and
Mm-hmm.
then not too long ago, like maybe 2 years ago or so, my husband gets this email from him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I'm thinking like, okay, well that was really like creepy and weird, but we live somewhere different now, and I get to think that I was probably a victim of convenience more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like I lived
You're
right
like right
there.
there. Mm-hmm.
There were like the things about the situation that made me feel marginally better about it was that I wasn't the only victim. This wasn't like personal
Like he singled you
to
out
me.
specifically,
Yeah, he didn't
and
single
mm-hmm.
me out. There were others. It was more of
Did you
like,
say how many there were, or did you know how many there were?
I know there were 4 in Rexburg,
Okay.
and then there was the girl in Illinois.
Yeah.
And that's all I know about. I know with that pattern of behavior, there's likely
Probably
to
more.
be more.
Yeah.
But, um, but yeah, oh, sorry, train of thought.
You were saying that he emailed your husband, so
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so I was like, it's been a long time. Like, I think we're kind of moved on. He's probably just forgotten about me, because
mm-hmm.
I don't think it was really about me. So I was like, we're good. We're fine. Whatever. I have pretty tough skin. I'm pretty resilient. I'm fine. But then, like 2, 3 years ago, Caleb comes home from work and he's like, hey, I just got an email from Mark. He was very apologetic in the email and talked about how he was going to change and that he's seeing therapists and stuff, but he wanted to reimburse me for the stuff that he stole.
Just really going through his own repentance process.
Yeah. I'm like, that's great that you're trying to go through this process, but like, I was like surprised at how shook I was by the
mm-hmm.
contact. Like, it bothered me a lot more than I would have thought.
Well, I'm like, it's like he's still trying to intervene in your life when he was supposed to be
Yeah,
gone.
like it was a little triggering. I was like, are you
Yeah.
really like allowed to contact? Like,
mm-hmm.
can you not? Anyway, so then he was on my mind a lot for a little while because I was like, well, am I going to respond to him? How am I going to respond to him? I don't know. So then I ended up just kind of being in analysis paralysis for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just never responded.
Oh,
but,
you didn't? Did your husband respond at all?
I think that he messaged him. He did email him back and say, like, glad things are going better for you. Please don't contact us again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah. Like, on the one hand, I'm like, well, I do believe that people change and people can change. I very much believe in that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also like, golly, you watch these, like, these shows about, like, serial killers and stuff. And
Yeah.
you're like, this is kind of like
started.
where they started.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know. So
Yeah,
anyway.
I worked in a prison for a time, actually, and I'm like, so
Yeah.
I do believe that, like, there are people that genuinely change. Like, I've seen them try and be better and stuff, but then I hear, like, my instant reaction with this story is like, oh no, I guarantee he's, like, still doing it to someone else. Like, how do you change that kind of behavior? Like, I don't know. So
Yeah.
hopefully he has,
Yeah.
and there's nobody else. But
Yeah, it was
Was he still
interesting.
in prison? Oh, sorry, what were you saying?
No, he wasn't. I think he had gotten out.
Oh, by the time he emailed.
Yeah, at first for a little while, I would like reply to that detective and be like, "Hey, I'm just looking for an update." Like,
Yeah.
and so periodically he would give me updates, and I think my dad kept pretty close track of him
Good for your dad.
as well. Um, but yeah, there was something interesting. I forgot my little creepy detail about it. If it's not creepy enough, but
I was like, that's a lot of creepy details.
when I contacted that detective, I was like, "Hey, are you looking for this other girl?" And I was like, another weird thing about it, and I don't know if this is really of his thought process at all or anything, but like, I found out later that he and his wife were having a lot of fertility issues. And I told this detective that. I was like, it sounds like they had a lot of fertility issues and they were struggling quite a bit with that, which breaks my heart because we did too after we got pregnant on birth control.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I understand like that's totally difficult, but I thought it was super weird when he was breaking into my place and stealing my stuff. I was probably 5, 6 months pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
And when he was living in that other girl's basement, she was also 6 months pregnant.
So maybe he had some like
So maybe
weird
there was
draw or
something
obsession
there.
with that.
I don't
Yeah, that
know.
is weird.
Yeah, I
It'd be
don't
interesting
know.
to hear
I
like
emailed
who
the
the other victims
detective and
were.
yeah, right? Like, because
Yeah.
I don't know the other ones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I asked the detective, I was like, were any of the others by chance pregnant? And he was like, I'm not sure, but thanks for adding that creepy detail.
Yeah. Yeah,
Thanks for adding a little
yeah.
creepiness to the case. And I was like, no problem.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I wonder.
Yeah.
Especially because I'm like, you'd been there. Well, I guess you got pregnant and then got the trailer, so maybe it wasn't too long after
Yeah,
that.
so I think I was, yeah, I can't remember if I was like really showing yet or not when we got into the trailer. Likely I wasn't. I didn't really show until about, I feel. But yeah, that's kind of an interesting. So yeah, I'm like, part of my reason for not wanting to use his name is like, I don't want this to like come back at me if he hasn't changed.
Yeah.
Also,
No,
if he has changed, he deserves to be changed, you know?
and not be blasted. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, it is hard. And did you feel like, I know you said you're pretty resilient and stuff, but did you have like a hard time sleeping after that or anything? I feel like I would really struggle with like paranoia with making sure everything was like locked. I'd be checking my stuff when I got home every day. So like, what was that like afterwards?
Definitely was like way more paranoid about locking stuff. But it's hard for me to say if I had trouble sleeping because it was a long time ago. And girl, I always have trouble sleeping.
The life of a mom. You know,
Gosh,
you
I am a
sleep
princess. Ever. Like I need my sleeping pill and my eye cover and my heating pad and my earplugs. I'm like, I've always worked nights and I'm not a good sleeper anyway. But yeah.
But it doesn't have any effects like now. Like you wouldn't, I mean, you say you like forgot about it. So I'm assuming you don't notice very many like side effects from it now.
No, it's definitely not something, I think about really often.
That's good.
Mostly it's every once in a while, like a coworker will be like, did you hear that she had a stalker? And somebody else will be like, you had a stalker? And then I have to tell them the whole story. You know, it's kind of the only way it comes up. But I think that's why I was a little surprised by myself when, you know, my husband got that email and I was like, oof, I don't like that.
Yeah, I can understand that.
On some level, it's a little triggering, but it's also
like it doesn't affect your day to day.
Yeah, so, I'm like a pretty logical person, and I really do think that I was more of a victim of his tendencies and fetishes than I was because of me specifically.
Yeah,
you know?
I feel like that would affect me probably more. So.
Oh yeah, yeah. If it was like you were his, you know, only other victim, I'd be like, oh,
yeah.
But I was really bothered by the fact that, like, I think it had only been a year since he was just breaking in and stealing underwear and hair and hygiene products to like in a year's time, he had escalated from that to
Being in
actually
someone's basement.
waiting in someone's basement, knowing that she's going to come home.
Yeah, it's really scary to think about what would have happened.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
so when I was talking to the detective about it, I was like, yeah, I mean, I'm not a professional in this field, obviously, but like, seems like quite an escalation.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, oh, yeah, absolutely. Like, we're very concerned about that amount of escalation in a year.
Mm-hmm.
Very fortunate that she saw him and that she called 911
Mm-hmm. And he went to
and
jail.
hopefully he got the help that he needed.
I really hope
He
so.
was in jail. I hope so.
Well, that is crazy. Thank you for sharing that with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really crazy. Like when when our friend told me that that you like did podcasts about like crazy stories and stuff, I was like, I don't think I have any of those.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really easy to forget them because it's just your life. You're like, nope, that's just
Yeah,
it happened.
I'm like, I don't know, I'm just a boring mom.
Yeah, that's how I feel. I'm like, I don't have any. I tell everybody else. I'm sure everyone else has an interesting story, but I'm like, I don't know what mine is. But yeah.
Yeah, and I'm an ER nurse now, and so I do get asked a lot, like, what's the craziest thing that's ever happened? And I always have a hard time, like, there's so much.
I know.
It's
Well,
hard to like. So I thought, oh, maybe it'll be something about that, and I'd be at a loss because I don't. It all kind of blends together.
I made my husband, so he's a nurse. He worked in the ER. In fact, he's there right now. That's where he's working.
Nice.
But he works full time as a flight nurse.
Yeah.
And so I made him come on and share his like trauma stories, just like 2 weeks ago or whatever. Yeah, but he was the same. He was like, none of these seem cool. Like it's just everything is the same at some point. Like yeah, I'm just like,
and any of the ones that like actually genuinely stand out, you're like, I don't think you actually know what you're asking. I don't think you want to know.
Yeah. So I'm like, they are interesting, but yeah, I get that. So,
yeah.
Okay, well, you have a great day.
Well, thanks. You too. It was super nice to meet you.
Yeah, you're really cute, by the way. You got on. I'm like, oh, you're cute. So.
Well, thanks. I thought the same thing.
Okay, well, I'd say I'd talk to you later, but I may see you around. Who knows? But thank you again for coming on.
Yeah, no problem. Anytime.
Okay, bye.
Yeah, see ya.
Okay, bye. Wasn't that story just sick? Ugh. The thought of somebody having a bag of my stuff. I mean, it's weird. The underwear, I don't know. I guess that didn't surprise me as much. The hair, I'm like, okay, that gets a little bit weirder. But the used feminine hygiene products, that to me was so just disturbing and disgusting. So I was really glad to hear that it wasn't having like these lasting effects and impacts on her life. And I hope that it's the same for the other women in this situation. It is funny. I feel like it is easy for us to, when we have something happen in our lives, I kind of mentioned this in the episode, like, oh, this is just my life. It's not something that you really remember every single detail of sometimes because you lived it, but now you've moved past it. You've got other things going on, and it's easy to kind of forget the specific details. And so I feel like it's common after to remember details that you had forgotten. And I feel like that's happened a lot with a lot of the stories so far. And so I try and add them in after the episode is over, just to give some like extra clarifying information. And that is the case here as well. Mallory texted me just saying, I have forgotten so many details. I did offer to get back on and add some more recording to it, but she did say that she would be okay if I just added it on to the end of the episode as well. So she told me, along with like her personal items, that he also had pictures of her walking in and out of her trailer. Ooh, like I just really hate thinking about it because as if your privacy wasn't already violated, with you knowing that he was walking into your trailer when you weren't home and stealing your things. The thought of someone watching you and taking pictures of you without you knowing just feels so scary and creepy to me. And Mallory did send me screenshots of the conversation that she had between her stalker's wife at the time. And they were just very kind to each other, checking in on each other, making sure each other were okay. And she really just did not know what he was going through. She said in these exchanges, she was like, I wish that I would have known what issues he had so that I could have given her help. I'm sure she was feeling a lot of guilt on her end. I feel like I probably would be, even though it was not her fault at all. It was his. And, just saying like she will be doing everything in her power to make sure that he gets the help and the treatment that he needs so that nothing like this ever happens again. And, she just Mallory just let the wife know that, I am doing okay and you are not to blame at all. So anyway, it was just kind of sweet to see their interaction. Mallory ended up sending me a link to a blog post that the wife wrote about her experience with this. So I am going to link that in the episode description. So if you want to go read her side of things, you can. In that blog post, she also links a podcast episode that she kind of talked about the experience as well. So if you want her version of what happened, go ahead and check that out. I found that really interesting as well. Like I said, I just can't imagine what it would be like to be the wife, to all of a sudden get a phone call, being like, hey, we found this out about your husband. And be like, like it would be so hard to believe. And then lastly, she also sent me a picture of the cabinet that she purchased for her trailer. And she said that they still keep it and they call it the creeper cabinet. And I'm like, oh, that's funny. So I will be posting a picture of that creeper cabinet on my social media if you would like to go take a look. I told her, I'm like, oh yeah, nope, it definitely looks like I would call it a creeper cabinet. And maybe it's just because I know the outcome. It's just a little bit run down, which is what you get when you are newly married and going through school and have no money. But I just felt like it really fit the vibe of the story. So if you didn't already have a little bit of worries buying things off of Facebook Marketplace or anything like that, here's just some more to add to that. Always make sure you have someone with you. Meet people in a public place. Don't let people know where you live. Take all the precautions so that these types of things do not happen to you. And I'm not saying they're going to. Also, that made it sound like it was Mallory's fault, and it's not. It's obviously not. It's the creepy stalker man's fault. And I really do hope that he's changed. I know I said this also in the episode. I do believe that people can change. I've worked in a prison. I've seen it. Granted, I didn't see them outside the prison, but I know that people can change for the better. And in fact, I Googled this person's name because I do know who it is. I looked him up. I Googled him to see if anything else had popped up. And there wasn't. This was the only thing that I found on Google about him. So hopefully he has changed. Yes, there will be a lot of things that I will put onto the social media if you want to check it out there. Again, will post the creeper cabinet. I'm going to put a post, hopefully sometime this week, for you to tag anybody you know that has an interesting story for me to interview. And I will also be linking the blog post from Mark's ex-wife so that you can go and read that, and I will have that on the episode description. Also, I realized I didn't mention where you can find me on social media, and that is at Sippin' on Stories Podcast on Instagram. So check me out there. If you're not already following, follow along. Speaking of, if you are not yet following on Spotify or Apple, go ahead and do that. I'd really appreciate it. Also, if you haven't left a comment or rated the podcast, I would also really appreciate that. I will see you here again next Tuesday for an all-new episode of the Sippin' on Stories podcast. Goodbye, everyone.